As they say, lights, camera, action. I've got Gus coming here today, social media guru. Hopefully he'll get some tips and tricks for bands to grow their social presence so they can get more gigs, get more viewers. That's what it's all about. We're all about the bands. Let's rock with it. Stay on this channel. Like, comment. What do you want to know? Subscribe.
He's a social media guru. I don't know if it's self-proclaimed, and he can tell us that in a minute, but it's my friend Gus. Right, Gus, you're on, man. You're on.
Hello.
Thanks for coming to Studio One. Really appreciate it.
Hey, it's absolutely my pleasure. After so many years,
I know.
I'm here, and it's,
I know. And the branding is wonderful because, as you know, we're orange and black. You're orange and black.
Absolutely.
Like I said to you this morning, I'm highly disappointed you didn't come in a full turban. That's really upset me.
But it's good for the headphones.
That's good for the headphones.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what I wanted to get you in today and chat, and I'm doing a series of interviews with people, bands mainly, and quite conscious that things have changed in the world, in the music industry, in business, especially around social media engagement, management, and marketing. So, I wanted to get you in to sort of tell us about what you do as a business, and what people can do, and if we can get on to what's changed and what people are doing at the minute. So tell us a bit about your business, anyway.
So, thank you. Apart from anything, thank you for having me, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. So I'm a marketer by trade. So I've been doing marketing practically my whole life, my whole adult life, I should say. And long and illustrious career, and then I left it all behind to run my local pub for a little while.
Oh, nice.
So I did that for 3 years, and it was an absolute pain in the backside, basically. And I know you don't mind swearing, so it was a pain in the arse. It was a headache. I loved it. I was like king of the hill. I was rich as anything, but nice. I couldn't spend any money because I was working.
Couldn't go anywhere.
23 hours a day, basically. And while I was there, my kid came along, and then he's now 7. But at that time, I thought, you know what, I need to do something and use all my marketing experience. So I started my own marketing agency. So that's what I do now. So I've been doing it since 2017, essentially helping people to get found online. I think that's the thing. It's anything that people can see of you online. That's what I can help with. So I focus on LinkedIn, but we also talk about Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest and Snapchat and all the other kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's mainly more than LinkedIn, obviously more business centric. So it's your companies that want to get, and that's quite cool, quite good, because obviously the other platforms, the Instagrams, the TikToks, and all the rest of it, it's for a different audience, but people are still growing on there. And from my point of view, well, that's a good thing with bands, because I obviously want to talk about what you do for businesses. But if I want to try and eke some tips and tricks out that would apply, the same principles should apply whether you're doing LinkedIn for business, apart from maybe the language that you use and the way that you present yourself could be totally different. But the principles are mainly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately you have to market yourself on whatever channel that you use. And I always say, work out where your ideal clients are hanging out, and then go and hang out in those channels. That's the places we want to be. And particularly for bands, for music and all that kind of stuff, the way that social media has changed, even in the last couple of years, but particularly since the pandemic, was we love short content, basically. So we've got the advent of TikTok. And I don't know if you know the story, but when Mark Zuckerberg, when Facebook and the Meta group of companies bought Instagram, they actually went to Snapchat first. And they said, right, I want to buy... Mark Zuckerberg said, I want to buy Snapchat. And said, no way, we're not selling to you. And he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy something else, and I'm going to copy everything. And he didn't say it in those so many words. But that's basically what he did.
Well, you can do it, can't you? If you've got billions of dollars.
Exactly. He bought Instagram for $1 billion.
Wow.
By comparison, Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $26 billion.
Wow.
Basically. So he bought Instagram for $1 billion. Nowadays, that's a bargain. Not that any of us can afford it, but that's a bargain. And then he basically copied all of Snapchat's ideas. So there's the stories. Now we've got Instagram Reels, etc., etc. Reels came about because TikTok came out and all that kind of stuff. And this, as consumers, we love seeing short, sharp information about people. And this is where bands and music can really win, because nowadays we don't want to sit through a kind of when we're at home or when we're in the car and all that kind of stuff, we'll listen to Bohemian Rhapsody, we'll listen to a 12-minute song and all that kind of stuff. But really, when we're scrolling social media, I want you to capture me in 10 seconds, 30 seconds, that kind of stuff. And I think that's where bands can really win. You know, get that hook, get that lick, that lyric, get it out there on kind of social media, and that's where kind of platforms have changed now, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm on all of them, TikTok, and I find myself sometimes scrolling, thinking, "What are you doing here?" Just doom scrolling, and something will catch you. So I'm actually at the process of totally change, because I'm a bit of a scattergun, and I just post. If anyone follows me on social media, well. It must be mental, but I've decided this last few days I'm doubling down on the band stuff, and I'm going to focus and just do that, because I might have daft ideas or video, and I was like, hang on a minute, I'm missing a trick, because I need people to stop and go, what's this guy doing? What's he about? Whereas if I think I'm confusing everyone in what I've been doing, so I'm looking and seeing what I can do differently. You know, even over the last few days, I've noticed an increase in the time watched on TikTok from making some minor changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you've made a great point there. A lot of bands, music, producers, managers, businesses, etc., everybody, they give their audience choice paralysis, because somebody somewhere has said to them, just try and be everywhere. Try and be on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat, and then we'll talk about Threads and Blue Sky and all this other kind of stuff. And it's just never ending. And the thing is, it's all right for me. I'm a social media manager. I do this all day, every day. I spend 23 hours on social media. Perfect. It's my day job. For people who have got proper jobs, you haven't got time for that shit, right? So basically, what you want to do is think about where your ideal clients are, and really, for want of a better phrase, smash the back doors out of that channel.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram Reels, whether it's, I mean, I don't recommend Twitter, but wherever you are, right, you want to make sure that that's where people can find you. So don't give your audience choice paralysis, because what happens is, where they find you, where you do your best work, that's where they'll spend more time watching you.
Yeah, you find that it's a bit like because I put some of the podcasts go like this. The band interviews go on to Spotify and YouTube, because people tend to stay on a platform, don't they? If you're a Spotify person, if I'm looking for a podcast to listen or music to listen to, what have you, I'll go to Spotify. So I do a lot of riding, a lot of driving, a lot of time on my own. So I'll sit through a long format podcast, for example. But I'll go to Spotify for that, because for me it's my platform of choice. That's where I go. Some people might go to YouTube. So it is important which channel you go on, definitely.
Absolutely. I use Spotify quite a lot for two reasons, right? Well, there's a number of reasons, but the two main reasons I use Spotify as opposed to anything else is because, first of all, I discovered that Apple Podcast takes up a lot of space on my phone. So that was the first thing. And Spotify doesn't, right? Because Spotify is an online platform, whereas on Apple Podcast, you have to download them onto your phone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one element. And then the other element was that because I do a lot of podcasts, as in I've been interviewed on quite a lot of podcasts, etc., I've created a Spotify playlist of all the podcast appearances that I've been on. And you can't really do that on any other channel. So they're the two reasons, because then I direct people to my Spotify. I'm like, if you want to know some LinkedIn tips, or you want to know some social media tips, or you want to know about marketing, or etc., go and listen to this particular interview or that particular interview, or just listen to the 16 odd hours of chat I've got at the moment, which I don't recommend, unless you suffer from insomnia or something. But,
true. So going back to your business and what you do and LinkedIn, so I'm presuming that you decided to use LinkedIn coming from a marketing point of view, because you want to target businesses and help businesses. So what do you actually, is that the reason, and what do you do for businesses on LinkedIn?
Yeah, more or less. So over time, so I've tried my hand at everything and every different kind of industry and sector and all that kind of stuff. And over time, I've realized that the sector that I can service the best is the service sector. So, for example, accountants, HR, lawyers, videographers, photographers, that kind of stuff. People who provide a service to others. And most of the ideal clients for those businesses would hang out on somewhere like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is one of the biggest platforms now. It's got over 1 billion people on it. And most of them are there for business, to do business, to either earn money or spend money. And I think the bit where I help, so although I can manage every social media channel, and I know all about Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all that kind of stuff, I focus on LinkedIn because that's where I help my clients get the biggest bang for their buck. in essence. So that's kind of, so I've kind of niched into LinkedIn.
Yeah,
But obviously when businesses come to me and say, right, I need LinkedIn and I want to make loads of money on LinkedIn, etc., I can help them do that. But then I find that actually they don't know who their ideal clients are, or they need help with branding, or they don't have a marketing strategy and all that kind of stuff. And then it becomes a much more holistic program.
Because it's, at the end of the day, it's LinkedIn social media as well,
Yeah,
and just
absolutely.
a different way of working. But you can't, I've sit here and I know a lot of people sit there and go, well, who's my target market? What am I trying to sell? You know, what's my product? What, you know what I mean? If you've not got what I'm actually selling, so it's important that you can identify that and help them along that journey. And thinking about bands, for example, bands necessarily won't hang around on LinkedIn, but potentially people that are booking for a massive festival or a big event, the guys that are guys and girls, I say guys, it means everybody, people, and not just you know, the guys that are hanging around on LinkedIn would be the people that are potentially booking bands for a gig or CEO's party or whatever the case may be. So there's they're not going to hang out there all the time, but there's a potential that there's something there, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the thing is, particularly on LinkedIn, you're probably not going to get Noel and Liam on LinkedIn, but what you will do is probably get their manager or their team or, you know, that kind of stuff. And although, you know, I mean, obviously they don't need LinkedIn to find gigs and stuff, but actually the small to medium bands, that's exactly, you know, people might want to book them for weddings or gigs or festivals or that kind of stuff. And, you know, particularly in Coventry and Warwickshire, we talk about the Godiva Festival and things like that. Any channel where we can focus on sharing information about us, that's what we want to do. You know, the thing is, I can use the example of Snoop Dogg on LinkedIn. Like, he's massive on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure that he doesn't write his own stuff, right? I'm 99% sure.
I love
right?
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, I love
He's
Snoop
great.
Dogg as well, right? His
great.
his LinkedIn is shit, but he seems to have millions of followers and stuff like that.
Yeah, but he's
right?
Snoop Dogg, isn't he?
But he's
got
Snoop
a
Dogg.
brand, isn't he?
Exactly. And that's the thing. And the stuff that he puts out is about, this is what I've learned over my career. This is the stuff that I can
cool.
help, like,
Right, okay.
you know, smaller bands with and stuff like that kind of thing. And what LinkedIn are trying to do is encourage more of those kind of people. Because there's a lot of footballers. Like, so for example, Gary Neville and Rio Ferdinand and Jordan Henderson and all that, they all have LinkedIn profiles. And they always talk about grassroots football and helping, like, this, you know, etc. And now you've got Snoop Dogg doing the same for the music industry. So regardless, whatever you think of Snoop Dogg, the main thing is that he's on LinkedIn because LinkedIn want to tap into that market of, let's get some music people here, let's get some of that industry, because LinkedIn is a place where people talk to each other, because it's a social media platform. It's where people have conversations, and you end up having conversations with other managers or gig hosts or venue operators or whoever it may be.
Yeah, because I've come away a little bit from LinkedIn. I've not really done much on LinkedIn for ages because it just didn't feel the right place to be. And for me, the bands that I want to interact with, or the people I want to interact with, generally are hanging out on Instagram and TikTok, you know. And the audience for those bands are hanging out on TikTok and Instagram. They're not hanging out on LinkedIn.
Correct.
Potentially. However, if I wanted sponsorship for this or for the gigs or whatever I'm doing, then LinkedIn would make sense. So it's so I'm presuming that there needs to be a different message or a different focus depending which social media platform you're using.
Yeah. So if I use the example of innocent drinks, like we've all heard of innocent drinks, right?
Yeah.
So for example, on Instagram and Twitter, they're really unhinged. Their stuff is like really funny, really hilarious, really ridiculous. That, like, they live tweet along through the Great British Bake Off. Got nothing to do with juice drinks, but they just do that because it's unhinged. It's what they do.
Yeah.
If you go and check out their LinkedIn profile is very much about them being a B Corp, supporting fair trade farmers, really talking to their stakeholders and their partners and stuff like that. It's a completely different marketing strategy, but the same organization. And I believe that people in the music industry or any other industry can do the same thing in terms of, yes, I'll show my videos on TikTok or Instagram Reels, but on LinkedIn is where we kind of share the stories or find those stakeholders, those sponsors, those partners, etc., etc. Because to be honest, if I was on LinkedIn and I was going to be a sponsor or a partner or a stakeholder, or I was running a festival or whatever it may be, sure, we'd connect on LinkedIn, but then I'd go and check you out on TikTok or Instagram, because that's where I would hear the music, etc. So if we talk about a multi-pronged social media strategy, it would be that your gallery should be where people would be hanging out and kind of checking out your music, such as Instagram or TikTok. And then where you have conversations would be somewhere like LinkedIn. if that makes sense. So it's like telling the story or getting your manager or kind of involved or looking for sponsorship or support or, you know, access to gigs or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So it's that multi-pronged approach at the without trying to be everywhere. I think that's the
Yeah,
key.
I'm in too many places at the minute, and I need to do something about it. But yeah, and you think, oh, I've got to be there, And someone said to me last week, my producers in Madeira, and she went, "Oh, this what is it, Blue Sky or Bluehost or Blue Nose or I don't know what it's called, something blue." And I'm like, I'm not going on it. She's like, why? I went, well, it's just going to be another Twitter and loads of people. I believe, I don't know, I believe it's people going off Twitter because they're not happy with it, so they've set up this new one. So it'll just be a echo chamber of those people on there. So we find, I know you're not a massive fan of Twitter, but we find Twitter quite powerful for us because lots of bands and lots of record labels hang around in Twitter, and actually you can connect to them quite easily.
Yeah.
And so for us, it makes sense to be in that space.
Absolutely. Now, the reason I'm not a fan of Twitter is because I see some rhetoric on there which I don't want to partake in, right? So, for example, sexism, racism, you know, that kind of stuff, right? It's not for me.
We'll talk about all that in our next show.
We will. But for businesses, for organizations, if you can make it work for you, then make it work for you. I think that's as with any channel, because it depends on your audience, where they hang out, what they're partaking in, what they're viewing, what they're looking at. So, for example, I work with educators in the education sector and stuff like that. And for them, Twitter is still the best because it's where people kind of hang out. If you work in journalism or in news, Twitter is still the best place to hang out. Yeah. It's still where you're going to get that information. When you want to live tweet along with some show, whether it's The Bake Off or Married at First Sight or bloody I'm a Celebrity or whatever crap is on TV nowadays, right?
Love I'm a Celeb.
Yeah,
it's one of my favourites.
So do I, but that's
it's a guilty sin for me.
I love it. Absolutely, I agree. You know, Barry McGuigan for the win.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
He's such a lovely guy. But it is that element of go where your audience hang out and make the best of that platform, whatever that platform may be. But I agree that also you don't want to hang out in echo chambers because I think lots of people are left to go to Blue Sky and then they're all talking to each other like, oh, isn't Twitter crap? And it's like, you're just talking to each other. You could have just done that on Twitter and said Twitter is crap. You can stay where you are.
Yeah, it's a funny one. It's a bit like, I'll tell you what was when Clubhouse, remember when Clubhouse? Are you all on Clubhouse still, Peter? Did you need an access to it? Remember all that through COVID?
The thing is, I absolutely fell in love with Clubhouse and then completely fell out of love with it because of it. I got a lot of clients through Clubhouse, and so on Clubhouse, audio only, social media platform. It was great. Didn't have to put my makeup on or anything. It was perfect. I used to host a weekly room called the Social Media Speakeasy. So literally, it was like I'll be on the virtual stage. Come into my room. Come and ask me questions about social media, free of charge. Whatever your questions are, I'll come and I'll help you.
Yeah.
Did this week in, week out. Got loads of clients through it. Made loads of friends and all that kind of stuff, etc. Then it started it got ruined basically by people, the 7, 8, 9 figure kind of hustle bros kind of thing. And all that kind of stuff. But in terms of music, so I think there was a show in America. It was like a second-rate version of American Idol, basically. Right. They ran it through Clubhouse.
Oh, really?
So they found a singer, and she got an album deal and all that kind of stuff through Clubhouse. So they had this weekly room where people would come and sing and all that kind of stuff. So, and again, I always talk about the Champions League of social media. There's 4 top channels, which are Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you have to be on at least one of those channels. Mm-hmm. Everything else is secondary. Yeah. Blue Sky or Threads or Parler or Hive or Discord or Clubhouse or whatever it may be. Everything else is secondary. But try and get into one of the top channels because that's where you're going to find the most part of your audience.
Yeah. So what were them again?
So the top 4 would be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn.
Yep.
So you should have at least one of those platforms, basically. Yep. And everything else is periphery stuff. And it's as much as I love Twitter, the thing is the Twitter audience well, it's different. The Twitter audience is small, but for you, it would be large because your audience are on there. If that makes sense.
Because it's entertainment, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you've like you said before, we've got journalists, you've got events, you've got bands, you've got record labels.
Yeah.
So for us, even if it is small, it makes sense because that's where a lot of them hang out. So we do use Twitter a lot. And that's interesting. That's gone through some radical changes since Elon bought it, and some of the things he's done, and everyone probably thought he was absolutely lunatic buying it. But we've just gone on to the premium version because we get Grok's in there as part of it. You can edit. One thing that frustrates me is editing. Because I'm dyslexic and sometimes I put posts on and I misspell them. Oh, that's spelled wrong. You can go in and edit. I can put longer format videos on. So I've actually put some of my interviews on there as a post straight on there, not copied from or shared from somewhere else.
Perfect.
Which I think it makes more sense. So we've literally just gone to that. And the other platform that is for me is TikTok, because I think for what we're trying to do, our potential audience or newer audience that we want for some of the shows that I do are of the younger. I know everyone's on TikTok, but bringing some of that younger generation in to see what we're doing.
And particularly with TikTok, if we start talking about the algorithm as such, like if we kind of delved into the detail of the algorithm, what would happen is, if you are scrolling TikTok and you see a video by a new band and you stop to watch it for 10, 20, 30 seconds, whatever it may be, the way the algorithm works is it will start showing you more of that stuff. When I scroll my TikTok, it basically shows me comedy or football, because they're the two things that I stop on. And that's okay, because the algorithm has recognized that, so that's what it shows me. The same with bands. If somebody stops and looks at a band, it will show them more bands, which then means that more bands get exposure. So in part of the music industry is, a rising tide raises all boats, right? That's the thing. And it's kind of, so when somebody watches one video, they get to watch others as well. And that's the beauty of TikTok.
Yeah. Sorry if you can hear that noise, people. Just put the heater on, it's gone cold. So it's starting up, so it's going. I need a quieter solution, but for now, it's what we've got.
It's not me, I promise.
No, it makes sense. I mean, I was on TikTok years ago when it first come out, because everyone going on about TikTok, and I left it for ages because all I was getting was either Chinese or Indian videos. And I can't understand what they're saying. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I was like, why would you even want to go on TikTok? It just makes no sense. But that's when it was in his early days. So they were the demographic on there. So that's what I was getting. I was like, what is this?
And it's the Snapchat generation. So basically, it's the people that want short, sharp information. So we get stories, we get kind of things that disappear, we get things that we can scroll really quickly. And during the pandemic, our thumbs were so busy because we just scrolled all day long. And TikTok tapped into the zeitgeist of, we're at home, we can't see anyone, we've got all the time in the world on our phones, so we're going to scroll and scroll and scroll. And it was very much behind the scenes content because we stopped talking to people, right? During the pandemic, we all went home. Sure, we jumped on Zoom, but there's only so much Zoom that you can do, right? So it was kind of like,
exactly.
I want to know what people are up to without actually calling them. And that's where TikTok kind of really won. It kind of behind the scenes content, short, sharp. This is what people are doing, whether they're dancing around in their onesies or putting their bloody rubbish out or making a lasagna or whatever. We love that stuff. And now it's grown. The algorithm is so much more sophisticated in terms of, if you like something, I'm going to show you more of that stuff.
It's true, because there's one or two things that I've gone on and I've started to look at, and I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm getting loads of this. I think one of them was growing your presence on TikTok. And then the next thing, I've got loads of TikTok I'm like, hang on a minute, why are we getting all this now? And it's interesting because I'm current, or you can get what it does on TikTok as an example. It throws your video out, doesn't it, to people, and then I've tend to have been stuck on around 200 to 300, and that's their sense check, innit? They put it out, and if it doesn't get so many views or comments or duration of your video, it dies. It just dies because they want to keep people on. They want to keep people on, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I've noticed about TikTok is it will show my videos to people like weeks later. I'll get there'll be likes and comments on stuff that I've posted like 3, 4, 5 weeks ago and stuff. So there's the other thing as well. Like you say, it gets to a certain reach, and then TikTok think it's gonna, it comes to a fork in the road. What are we gonna do? We're gonna kill it or we're gonna show it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
TikTok admitted that they've got a virtual button that they can press to blow up content, basically.
Really?
So if they see something and they think this should go viral, in essence, they've got something where they can just click and it go. I mean, it's not actually a button, but it goes out to hundreds of thousands of people instantly, and they can do that at the whim. And to be honest, most social
because they're after something. It might come from someone, or or it's a topic that's in the news or whatever. So let's get that out there. And then, for example, there's stuff going on with. I don't want to get into the wiser reason, but there's a lot of stuff going on with Greg Wallace at the minute. And so, from a social media aspect, that is all over the place. Every one you pick up is on there. There's someone commenting about him, or a video about him, or a skit about him, whatever it is. He's a hot topic at the minute. So he's everywhere.
Yeah, and on that note, I think regardless of what you think about Greg Wallace, that is a prime example of what social media can do. It can make or break you, kind of thing. And I think that's the thing. And there are certain stories I've read, things that I've heard, and all that kind of stuff. And then you make judgments, don't you? Because you're like, oh, he did this, or she did that, or they said that, and all of a sudden, etc. And this is what social media can do. So it really, the negative is that it could break you, but the positive is that it could also make you.
It's a two-handed. It's two-handed. Whatever it is, it's a double-bladed sword.
I know what you mean. Yeah, and when we talk about music, for example, that's a prime example. Because obviously, if you got good music, you got a good hook, a good lick, good lyric, whatever it may be, it's going to get seen and it's going to get pushed out.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, just going back onto that one with the Greg thing. Whether I'm not saying whether he's done anything wrong or he's right, or whatever. It's just a story. It's in the news at the minute. Now, what gets to me a little bit is that guy's not been potentially he's stepped down or has been stepped down left from his job. He's not been charged with anything. He's not been committed currently. Yet a lot of the stuff discussions I see is, oh yeah, I knew he was a wrong, and oh yeah, dirty old man, and it's typical. Yeah, he was preying, and wow, step back, people.
Yeah,
that you've got the pitchforks out, and we don't even know what's going on yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The world loved Jimmy Savile until the allegations came out. Do you know what I mean? And it's that kind of, he fixed it for a lot of kids and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like,
he didn't know.
And then you see, we always knew and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you didn't know, otherwise you would have said it, wouldn't you? And if you didn't say it, then that makes you culpable.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like and I think this is where social media, like, if I don't hear it with my own eyes or see it with hear it with my own ears or see it with my own eyes, everything else is just rhetoric. We don't know what really goes on behind closed doors and all that kind of stuff, etc. And up until about 2 weeks ago, everybody loved Greg Wallace.
No,
do you know what I mean? So it's just
it's mad.
And it's I get the people who have made the allegations and they're not happy and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. And I got to be honest, his apology video was fucking awful. Right? It was just absolutely, and it's like he made it even worse.
He's done another one, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Did you see his T-shirt? That's something like "I'm so horny since 2011" or something. I'm like, Greg, what are you doing, Greg?
Come on, Greg. Yeah, absolutely zero self-awareness and all that kind of stuff. But it's that level. And now obviously people like John Turode and stuff kind of get his co-host, and all that kind of stuff. They get dragged into it, and then people say stuff about other things. Philip Schofield was the nation's sweetheart.
Oh man!
Until he jumped the queue at the Queen's funeral.
That was disgusting.
That was disgusting. Then he came out as gay, and then obviously something about grooming one of his colleagues and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we hate this guy, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, hold on a minute. Up until 5 minutes ago, you adored him. Do you know what I mean? It's really
it's mad, isn't it? How you can go from hero to zero in next to no time, can't you?
All because of social media. I think that's the thing. If social media didn't exist, you wouldn't know half of these stories.
No, because you wouldn't know, would you? It might come up in a paper, man, or really or whatever. But and that's everything's so accessible instantly to everyone, isn't it? Whether it's right or not. And then what tends to happen with that? I saw a thing, and it's basically someone's made a mock-up of him as doing a Twitter post saying that he's against this cow injection, this thing. That tweet doesn't exist.
Yeah.
He's never posted that tweet. So everyone's jumping on the bandwagon going, oh yeah, I knew there was something, there's another motive. no, hang on a minute, Greg never even posted that.
Yeah.
Someone's made that up.
Absolutely.
And then, so you get an element of truth or something going on, and that's plausible, so I'm going to hang my hat on that now. It's interesting, and it
is. It's, and particularly with the advent of AI. I mean, I know we're going off on a tangent here, but the advent of AI, now you don't know what's real. And that's why when we do Facebook Live videos or podcasts, or when we talk, or when we do videos, so music bands, right? And we can say, oh, well, we can get the synthesizers out, and we can get the computers out, and, we can make a track on a Mac. Or they've got that, there's an AI platform called Sona, I think it is, or Sona or something like that. You just type in a few words, it pumps out a song for you. And you're like, amazing. But, it's kind of where's the lines blurred? And I think this is the thing that, a couple of years ago we saw those deep fake Tom Cruise videos, very, and all that kind of stuff. We have to be very careful what we believe and what we don't. And this is why I always say, if you don't hear anything with your own ears or see anything with your own eyes, take everything with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, there's obviously Joe Rogan's massive, and he's a massive celebrity podcaster and everything. And there's lots of videos that are supposed to be like him doing this, like, him talk, but he's talking about products and stuff, and he's like, I never even recorded that. I never even and I've seen a few and think that is good.
Yeah.
I think there's one I saw where it's about the nose tapes for breathing and snoring. It's changed my life, and so on the back of Joe's celebrity, if you like, and his reach, people are getting on the back of that to sell a product, which is like, and we'll get to the point where we don't trust anything, and I think we're going to be in a dangerous position, aren't we?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. I think it's a really dangerous position to be in, and I think this is where we have to be careful what we see and what we kind of consume online. And this is where, if we consume what we want to and what we choose to, as opposed to what's fed to us by the algorithm, that's what will make our life better.
Yeah, and we get dragged into it because we're scrolling and we're getting the dopamine hit for different things, so we keep scrolling on it, and I'm just go. I kid myself a lot of the time by saying, well, because I'm in doing this, then I need to be on there. And then sometimes I go, I even sit in there and go, what are you doing? What you just waste. I got up one morning, I think it was like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. I couldn't sleep. I got up, and next thing it was like 7 o'clock. I'm like, well, what have you done those 4 hours?
The average scroll time on TikTok is apparently 95 minutes a day, and if you think that most videos are 10 seconds long, 95 minutes is a lot of fucking time. Do you know what I mean? It's insane how easily you can just get sucked into things and just kind of it's amazing.
It's crazy. So flipping it back round to you and your business, because that's why we're here as well. It's sure. I do these as well because I want to learn.
Yeah.
So I want to learn. So I've got you around.
Yeah.
Hey, great. I've had a real insight into what we should be doing and what we should be doing. So what is it that you actually? We touched about before, but so you're on LinkedIn for businesses. What's the sort of things? What's the sort of 2 or 3 things that you do for each company, or how you sort of help them along their way?
So particularly on LinkedIn, the main thing I would do is kind of work out a strategy of who are your ideal clients, where do they hang out, what's their demographic, etc. And then let's connect to those people on LinkedIn. And then the second step is let's create content that they would want to read. And it's kind of like creating a positive echo chamber on LinkedIn in terms of, here's my ideal audience and here's what they should be reading, so that they essentially get to know me, like me, and trust me. And as we all know, once somebody trusts you, they hand over their cash, right? It's that
they did.
And I think it's that kind of, and I know that sounds like a very crass thing to say, but ultimately we're on social media because we want to make money. That's the thing. Yeah. If I won the Euro Millions tomorrow, you wouldn't fucking see me for dust.
Oh, I'm bastard.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that. But, I'd probably share a couple of photos of my orange Ferrari.
You invite me on your yacht in Dubai or something.
You would? No, of course you would. But like everybody else. Yeah. No, of course not. Yeah. We'd have a yacht next to each other. That's what it would
exactly.
be. Yeah. But it's that kind of, we're there to make money. And so what I do is I help businesses to create a content marketing strategy and then obviously create that content. So I either write it for them or train them how to write it.
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah, exactly. So there's 2 elements of what I do. So I teach people how to use social media, or I do it for them. So there's the training side and the management side. The training side is what I'm really pushing at the moment, because to be honest, there's only so many clients I can manage. I'm a company of one. There's finite kind of hours in the day and all that kind of stuff. And so, if I do it for you if I manage your social media, you know, I'm giving you a fish for the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I'm training you, you're going to eat forever, basically. And it's that. So I prefer training businesses and business owners, etc., so they can go away and do it themselves and kind of really spend that time finding their audience, creating the right content, getting people to trust them, getting people to essentially kind of become a client.
Yeah, because I like that, but you're right, because you can manage it for someone. It might be perfect for some people. They don't want to do everything to do it. But I think if it's their business or their band or their company or whatever it is, they've got the passion behind it. They know the details, the details that we might not understand, and what they, have stuff. I think that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. From the desk in the corner of my bedroom, I'm never going to know, what rider this band has had, or how many orange M&Ms were in that bowl, or what riff that they just kind of picked up, etc. But if they've got somebody hanging around with them, if there's like an assistant or an apprentice or a social media manager or their manager or one of their colleagues or even the band themselves, they know, because they're in the moment. And when you can share content in the moment, that's when you know kind of this is real life, basically.
You're right. And for me, there's the bands. I watched a few bands, and I follow a lot of bands, but the things that I really like, and I think they should focus on a lot more, is the behind the scenes, the recording in the studio, some little snippet from the gig and things like that, because I think it makes them more human. I think where a lot of bands, and I'm going to be doing a series on TikTok about this, is we're all focused. I think it's like a lot of business. They're focusing on the wrong thing. So everyone's focusing on, how can I make my music the best? This goes without a given. You should have good music. You should have on Spotify. Yeah. So I've put this amazing stuff on Spotify. Why is no one listening to it? Because no one knows you're there.
No one knows.
No one gives a flying fuck you exist. They don't care. They don't care about you.
There's a billion songs on Spotify. You're not gonna get found unless you tell people, listen, I hang out here.
Thousands.
Yeah.
So why should I as a because you're talking about money, and we'll make money by selling more albums or gigs. But for me, the most expensive thing we're using is time.
Yeah.
So how do I get how do you get me to listen to your stuff? Because if I've got to choose between listening to a podcast or an audio book or listening to the latest track from, I don't know, Entropy or whoever the band, Subterranean or whoever the band is, how do you do that? And you do that, I think you said it before, it's that people need to like you and make more personal.
Yeah.
You can be the best band in the world, best music, but we need something to emotionally connect us. Connect to things,
and that's actually the perfect thing to say, because this is what I teach people on LinkedIn. Because, for example, I could spend all day every day saying, "Oh, I'm a social media manager, or I'm a LinkedIn trainer, etc." Eventually, people switch off because they're like, "Can I say?"
I'm clipping that.
Yeah. Shit. So brilliant. But it's exactly that. People. If you spend all day every day just saying, "This is what I do for a living," like if you spend all day every day saying, I make music, here's a great track, people eventually switch up because like, I've heard the track now. But when you add personality, so this is why TikTok took off, because it's that behind the scenes content. It's people in the studio learning the riff, practicing on their guitar, a quick little like a kind of drum roll, etc. All of a sudden it's like, oh, we're putting things together here. The film Bohemian Rhapsody, the fact that it ended with Live Aid, that was secondary, because the whole film is about Freddie's story. All the stuff in the background.
It was good, that.
Yeah, brilliant. One of my favourite films ever. And it's exactly that. His relationship with his parents, his relationship with his bandmates.
It was brilliant.
His boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. Etc., etc. That's the bit that made Freddie Freddie. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't... The Live Aid was just a culmination. Do you know what I mean? And if we talk about Oasis, for example... Yes, them at Nebworth or them doing these gigs and all that kind of stuff. That's just a culmination. What we really love is watching two brothers from Manchester talking their Manc accents, arguing with each other, saying stupid things, getting married to the Appletons, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the story. That's the story. And this is where bands should like show us your personality.
And there's lots. Hey, we could go off all day about it. You're right. It definitely need to focus on that. And you're right about the Gallaghers. There's bands out there that we're rocking with who they're as talented. Yeah. But they're missing something out, and they're missing that spark. They're missing that, and they came out in a time before all the social media. So they were sort of in a perfect storm, really.
Absolutely. And the Oasis and Blur situation tapped into a zeitgeist.
That pushed it up, didn't it?
And then when you look at all the other bands at that time, like bands like the Cranberries and Suede and all these other kind of stuff, they were brilliant. They were all, like, I love Suede. They were fabulous as well, right? But they didn't have the Blur and Oasis rivalry, right? And this is the thing. And then the reason Blur are not famous today and Oasis are is because Oasis had personality. I prefer Blur. I prefer Blur's music. I'll say that, like, till the cows come home and all that kind of stuff. But they're not famous because they're boring, right?
I know.
And that's the thing. Oasis are famous because they're interesting.
I know.
Well, regardless of what you think of their music, you might think their music is shit, but they're interesting. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, that is absolutely bang on. And we've had bands, I won't name them because it's not, but I've got band, and I interview bands as well. So it's sort of, especially younger ones, they've not had the experience of being interviewed, and it sort of helps them because you need a whole rounded thing as a band. And I've had bands here, and the music's great, and then I look and go, come on, lads. You know,
Give us a smile.
they sound brilliant, but I don't want that spark. Remember Sparks?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want. You need something, and then I've got other bands. They're jumping on stages. They're doing all sorts of stuff. And you go, you've got something, lads. You've got. You want this.
Yeah.
You can go in for it, and you're entertaining me. I can put the I might as well just put the Spotify playlist on. I want to be entertained.
Exactly. If we look at X Factor, the TV show, I think it's a load of bollocks. But
Yeah, I do as well. Stop watching it.
yeah, but the person that had the X Factor was Simon Cowell. People watched it because he was so scathing to people. Right?
Yes.
They didn't give a shit about the music or the bands and the artificially
Dancing dogs and
and
crap
all
like
that kind of and all that kind of crap. But people love it for Simon because he's the one that had the X Factor. Ironically, right? That's the thing. Not the people on the stage and all that kind of stuff. And this is where. Now, I'm not telling people that you should turn into like the Gallaghers or Simon Cowell or something like
Kurt
that.
Pickstone.
Or Kirk Pickstone. Yeah. Definitely don't do that. But it's that, but it's that element of your craft. Like I said, I can say all day, every day, I'm a LinkedIn trainer.
Yeah.
That's just my craft. That's just my job. What makes me different is that I like orange trainers, or I like orange chocolate, or I live in Coventry, or I got a kid, or, I run my own business, or I got, whatever it may be. It's all the other stuff, the periphery stuff that makes you, you.
It's right, and that's why I sat here, because you intrigue me. I've known you for some time, but we've never sat down. We have sat down on a little discussion, but not really sat down. But I saw you I saw you a couple of years ago at an event in Birmingham and what have you. But you intrigued me for your branding. I know you give people your chocolate, orange chocolate. You intrigue. There's loads of social media people out there, but I've honed in on you because of what you do, who you are, what you like, and you intrigue me. So,
and that's the thing. You probably know hundreds, if not thousands, of social media specialists. Right? You could speak to anyone, but what makes people different is that friendship, that level of we use social media to tell a story, to get people to know us, like us, and trust us.
Yeah,
and it's that we create friendships with the people around us, which then marks us out as different, kind of thing. So whatever that may be, and then it becomes like a situation of trust transfer. So, for example, if somebody says, you know what, I need some help with social media, I need somebody to do this, etc. You're like, oh, I know the man, Gus is the guy, kind of thing. Or if somebody says, oh, I need help with like music or marketing or that kind of stuff, oh, Kirk's your guy, kind of thing. Yeah. It's that trust transfer where we have conversations with other people, and when we talk about bands on social media, it's exactly that. We end up talking to one another because people start talking about us to others. And I think that's one of the things when we talk about Oasis and Blur or Suede or Travis or Madonna or Kylie or whoever it is, it's because people are talking about them and not talking about somebody else.
Yeah, because artists, some artists endure, don't they? So the likes of Madonna's endured. You know, why she endured? Because she's kept changing herself, and she's in. You know what I mean? She's a. I don't even know how old she is. She must be older than me. She must be in the 60s. She's in the 60s now.
90s or something, I don't know.
And she's still going. Do you know what I mean? And highly successful as well.
Yeah.
Not just, she's not like some bands from the 80s. They're still going, but they're playing little venues. And I'm not knocking them for that. Great, you carry on. You're still doing your craft. You're still doing it. But the people that used to support them and go and watch them have all grown up and got into something else, haven't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about the longevity of music, and this is where if we stand out, because to be honest, listen, I like Madonna, I think her music's great and all that kind of stuff, but she's no better than any other female singer.
No.
But the difference is it's her story. It's the stuff that makes her different. Same with Kylie, like her fans, it's what makes her different is the fact that she's tapped into a certain zeitgeist with her fans. It's kind of like, you know, the whole GAY thing and all that kind of stuff, the little reinvention with Michael Hutchence and all that kind of stuff, where she came from being in Neighbours and all that kind of stuff. It's longevity, and it's because the story keeps reinventing itself. Oasis, nobody gives a shit about Oasis, and all of a sudden they've come out and they said, right, we're going to do these gigs and all that kind of stuff, sold out in like 10 seconds or whatever stupid it was.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's just, you know, and it's that people want to say, I was there, I saw that. People still say to me now, oh, so, you know, Nebworth, best gig, Live Aid was the best gig, or, you know, when I saw, you know, Wham, the final concert and all that kind of stuff, etc. People still talk about those stuff because what makes those people different is their personality, is their attitude, is the way they market themselves.
I've seen them twice, actually, Oasis. Once at Man City ground, the Etihad. And that was fun. That's the type of thing. Liam turned around, he went, hey, you up there, get out of my fucking seat. Do you know what I mean? Because he's that's his seat.
Amazing.
And then the second time I saw him was at Coventry.
Oh, yeah.
So 2 blue stadiums. And it was about 3 or 4 days before they split up. He actually stormed off stage part way through on that gig.
I was there.
Was you?
I was there, yeah. So probably one of the worst gigs I've ever been to. And I tell you what, for 2 reasons, right? Well, no, there were a number of reasons. First of all, he hardly did any singing that day, and he let Noel take the lead.
Yep.
The Enemy were the supporting band, and they were bloody brilliant. They were really good. But then he said, oh, here's to the real Sky Blues. And everybody went, yeah. And then he went Man City, and everybody went, boo.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was like, why would you come here and say that?
In a Coventry stadium.
In a Coventry stadium, yeah. And then the worst thing for me was the amount of piss that people were throwing around.
No, I was going to say that, but and I used that in a video that I did with a band because they were going to play at some posh gig down in London. And I went, oh, there won't be many pints of piss thrown there. And they're like, what? And that image will stay with me forever. The amount, if anyone wasn't there, it was just flying everywhere. Wasn't it?
It was, I was in the stands wearing a Mac and a hoodie, and I was seeing pints of piss being thrown. And the thing is, you're watching it in slow motion come over your head, and you're watching it and you're like, shit, that's going to land on somebody. And it's like whacking people on the head and like piss everywhere. Kind of all the people around them are like, what the fuck is it? And they're and you can see them smelling it like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm seeing hundreds of these.
It was mental, wasn't it? Do you know what I quite liked about that? I was in the stands and there was none of that in there. Yeah. And I just saw it all. You must have been on the ground.
No, I was in the middle of the stand. So what happened was I was watching it. People from behind me.
We never got it where we was.
Were throwing it onto the stadium floor.
Disgusting. Disgusting way to be.
Yeah. I agree. It was horrible.
But that's the trouble with going to a big concert like that, because if you want to go to the loo. Yeah, you've had a few beers. You want to go, don't you?
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Just use your glass. Exactly.
There needs to be something. I've never done it but I'm just saying it's a pain in the backside, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Going to the loo and then finding your way back again.
Yeah, totally. If you've had 4 or 5 pints, that's exactly where it's going to go. And it's just it was really. And I've always said that's the worst gig.
It's terrible.
I've ever been to.
That was terrible.
For a number of reasons, but that was one of the main reasons, and it was just. I mean, I love Oasis and I love their music and stuff like that. I mean, they're no Blur, admittedly, but that gig was just cool. It was horrible. Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's weird because I've spoken to a few people in the past, and sounds like a lot of people I know were actually at that gig. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We must have...
my social media post the next day was. How do you get 40,000 chavs in one place? Tell them Oasis are playing a gig, right? Because that's exactly what happened. It was just, I was looking around, I was like, yeah, this ain't... I mean, I'm working class. I'm from the slums of Coventry, right? But I trust me, I felt like King Charles there because I was like, this place is a shithole, basically.
There's a film about that,
Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire.
That's how I felt, yeah.
The Sikh version.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
The last thing on this is just going back to social media and stuff, talking about bands, talking about music and all that kind of stuff. And I know we talk about, throwing piss and Oasis and Blur and Kylie and Madonna and all this other kind of stuff. But if I could give any advice to music bands out there, to specialists out there, etc., it's show your personality. Be yourself. Your music, to a certain extent, is secondary.
Yeah.
You got to be good at your music, because otherwise you're not going to be in a band, right? You might as well just play in your garage for the rest of your life. So we already know your music is good. What makes you different? Because there's a million bands out there. There's millions of people trying to make it. We see all these idiots coming on X Factor every year and all that kind of stuff. There's like 20,000 hopefuls turn up and, you know, sing into a mic and all that kind of stuff in front of Simon Cowell, etc. Everybody wants to be a superstar. What makes you a superstar? And share that on social media, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram Reels, even LinkedIn, wherever it may be. Get it out there.
Brilliant. I love that. That's a great parting message. So, for anyone that's interested in what you're doing, where can they get hold of you? Where do they need to go?
I always recommend head over to Google and literally just type in the M Guru. The M stands for marketing. I know it took me ages to come up with that name. Really imaginative. So yeah, find me anywhere.
Yeah. Well, why not? Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. You know what I mean? It's
kiss.
yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go. Anyway, brilliant. Thanks for coming in and chatting about that. And I'm sure we'll be talking about. People go and check him out. Absolutely wonderful guy.
Thank you so
Especially on LinkedIn, he hangs around there, but he's all over the place. And thanks very much for coming into the
Thank
studio
you so
today.
much.
It's been absolutely brilliant, my
The
friend.
pleasure has been absolutely mine. Thank you so much.